in child protective services, and they won't give them back to their loving families because they're making money.
This is a legal system that you're going into. And if you don't know the rules, you will be chewed up and spit out.
If I could say anything to a mother who just got their children detained, you're in a crisis. Yeah. Life feels like it's over. The most important thing is regaining custody of your children.
The child welfare system at its core is designed to protect children who need protection. Okay, and that's key, is who need protection.
So social workers, out of fear, will remove more children rather than only remove those children that truly need to be removed.
It's okay. It's okay.
This isn't someone stole your car. Someone broke into your house. This someone took your child, your flesh and blood.
It doesn't say on this order that it was not proven. It says untrue. I immediately knew that, okay, well, this ain't over.
Signs? Did I miss them? Did I catch them? At this point, I honestly don't know.
Families only get a finite amount of time to reunify.
I came into this field to help families, not destroy them.
The difference between the criminal system and the child welfare system is substantial. You have more rights as a criminal than you do as a parent.
Good evening or good afternoon, everybody. My name is Georgette True, and I'm the co-host for Real Fight CPS Real Talk with Miss G. And my guest today is Dave. Dave, go ahead and introduce yourself, please.
I'm Dave Shackelford. I'm a private investigator. I'm based out of Carmel, Indiana, not Carmel. It's pronounced Carmel out here in Indiana, which is a suburb of Indianapolis. I'm licensed in several states. I've conducted investigations in 43 states in Mexico. And I've been doing this for a long, long time.
And you have seen pretty much a lot of BS going on, Dave.
With the topic that we're discussing today, yes, unfortunately, I've seen nearly every possible scenario. One of the ones that we discussed this morning that I've never understood was an Indiana case where the social worker for the Child Protection Services did not have a college degree. She was a Walmart sales associate in Richmond, Virginia, and quit her job and moved to the Indiana area and became an assistant supervisor for CPS. And where the qualifications came, looking at her background and her educational level, I have no idea.
Wow. They actually, I have met social workers who actually just graduated high school, Dave.
Wow.
Or barely graduated high school. And they become the judge, the jury, the persecutors of families and stealing children. I received a couple of messages today, and I actually had to call them right after the show earlier today, the one you were on with me at 6 a.m. And one of the mother told me that the social worker went to her house, took her baby, told her she has a court order. The father and the mother demanded to see the court order. She said, I don't have to show you the court order. They have Ring cameras in their home. So luckily, it captured everything, obviously. The lady the social worker just took the baby without a car seat. Okay. The father went outside with his phone without a car seat, put the baby in the back, you know, in the back of the car without a car seat. And the father is like, he couldn't believe it. He said he called the police. The police said there's nothing they can do about it.
I don't agree. The police could have done something about that.
Yeah.
There's a crime being committed. I mean, a misdemeanor nonetheless, but a crime.
Yeah. So when this happened, when he, you know, he was sending me the video, but I guess it was too long that he couldn't send it to me. So I told him to email it to me, and I had the opportunity to look at it. It was so gruesome. How can you just throw a baby in the back seat of the car without a car seat? Get in the car and drive away so fast, like you're literally escaping from the cops.
That's part of the problem with this entire system.
Yep.
From coast to coast is accountability. Is I've not seen any accountability. I've seen everybody's good friends.
Right.
Judges, prosecutors.
Right.
Everybody's good friends, and they're not going to correct their friend in front of somebody else. And so they let ugly things happen when they know that shouldn't be happening, but they can't correct their friend or their drinking buddy or their social person in front of other people. And so bad things happen.
That is correct. They protect each other. It's all like I say all the time, they protect each other. That's all they do. There's absolutely no accountability for their own actions, and nobody holds them accountable. And in order for you to hire an attorney, of course, you have to have the money. You have to have the means to hire an attorney. And not every parent has that ability to hire an attorney to fight their case. So most of them have to deal with the court pretenders.
Right.
Right. And that's all it is, which is disgusting to me. So how do parents get, there is really no help. There's no help with the attorneys that they are stuck with. There's nothing they can do or say to defend themselves. And the judges don't even allow them to open their mouth. So I know I read this on my shows a lot, but I want to read this to you guys again for the people that haven't watched my shows. This is a California legislative information. A parent or legal guardian may make a video or audio recording of his or her interview or interaction with a county child protective services social worker who is investigating allegation of parental abuse or neglect. The legislator finds and declares that nothing in existing law prevents a parent or legal guardian from making a video or audio recording of his or her interview or interaction with a county child protective services social worker. A county child protective services social worker's participation in an investigation of parental abuse or neglect shall be deemed consent to video or audio recording pursuant to subdivision A. A county child protective services social worker assigned to a role performing duties that include assuming the custody of children or conducting interviews of a child or his or her parent in order to investigate allegations of parental abuse or neglect shall provide notification to the parent or a legal guardian undergoing investigation of parental abuse or neglect in writing that the parent or legal guardian may make a video or audio recording of his or her interview or interaction with a county child protective services social worker. A copy of the written notification shall be signed by the parent or legal guardian and returned to the county child protective services social worker to acknowledge receipt of written notification. Now, a lot of people who are dealing with an investigation or dealing with CPS, you guys have to understand, by law, they are violating your rights. They can't just go to your home, demand that you sign documents, demand to take your child without a court order. Now, if this information that I'm giving you guys is not coming just from me, it's coming from Mr. Davis. You know, Attorney Davis has shows all the time educating the public of their rights and what to do and what not to do. A lot of people think because they are good parents that the social worker is not going to steal your child from you. You can be an angel from God himself coming down to earth, and they will still take your baby if you had a baby in your hand. So do not speak to them. Do not open Pandora's box, right? And start talking to the workers immediately, because you have the right not to say anything to them. In fact, they cannot by law get a court order to speak to you. They can get a court order to check your home, to check your child, but by law, they cannot get a court order to speak to you or your husband or your family.
Obviously, guys like me cost money, but if a person finds themselves being investigated, hire an investigator.
Yep.
And let that investigator either cooperate with their investigation,
yep,
or make their investigation less traumatic.
Yep.
And also you'll get some idea as to where they're headed with their investigation if you've
Yep.
got your own investigator.
That's very true. And you could also hire an investigator to monitor the monitor.
That's right.
If needs be, you can hire an investigator to monitor the monitor, but it's very important to get an attorney doing the investigation process, because getting an attorney doing the investigation process helps not for the child not to be removed from your custody. Once the child is removed from your custody and is in the state custody, the state has jurisdiction of your child.
Right.
That's what you don't want. You don't want the state to have jurisdiction of your children. That's why it's very important to hire a private investigator and to also hire an attorney that will stop the move. But you have to understand how and which attorney to hire. Oftentimes, what I see people doing, Dave, is that they hire a family law attorney who has no idea about juvenile cases or juvenile laws. This attorney might take a small retainer from you, but he or she would not be able to help you. Like in our office, we have sets of attorneys. We have family law attorneys, we have juvenile attorneys, we have, criminal attorneys. We have different types of attorneys. You can't just hire a family law attorney that never handled a CPS case ever and expect that attorney to help you.
And what I've seen is that if you start hiring an attorney or hiring a private investigator and you show the CPS people that you're going to make them toe the line,
right,
they'll back off.
Right.
They'll find somebody who has a lot less resistance.
Yeah.
And they can bully them.
Right. That is true. That is very, very true. There is another case actually that that I was about to talk to you guys about earlier, but I forgot to mention on my other show. But grandparents have rights. If you guys have a grandmother, right, your mother or your dad or uncle or relatives that wants to be able to have placement with them, they have rights. By law, family comes first, right? Don't believe this hype that they tell you, oh, no, we have to put the child in a foster home because, blah, 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 blah. No, there is no blah, 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 blah. There's laws. The laws exist for a reason. But what social workers do is they set rules in place to violate your rights, right? To make sure that the family members don't have placement of the children. And how do they do that? They say, okay, well, the grandmother is too old, even if the grandmother is 62. 62 is not old. My aunt is 62 and she can actually run 5 miles. I can't run 2 miles. So there's a lot of 60s grandparents who actually are healthier than a 40-year-old. You know what I'm talking about, Dave? I mean, seriously. They are not, there's nothing wrong with them, but what the social workers tells the judge, they're too old to care for the child, right? Or they live in a different state. Mr. Davis said it doesn't matter where they live. They can live in a different country. They, by law, have to transfer the child to a family member. That's why Mr. Davis always says, give them 25 names of family members, numbers of family members, addresses, from 25 up to 50 or 100 or 200. What are they going to do? Say no to all of them?
I don't think a social worker is qualified to determine who is physically fit, who's not physically fit.
Exactly. Exactly. And the thing about it is, social worker, like I said, they are bullies. They think they are the power. They are untouchable.
Well, they are.
But they are. But they give them immunity. However, the federal side, right? Some people say they don't know all the corruption that's going on, but they do know. They do know. They have ideas of what corruption is going on. That's why a lot of lawsuits are won against social workers, because there is so much corruption going on. The lawsuit in 2021 that happened in New Jersey, that was like 187 million that the parents won. I mean, this was just happened, what, November? Or I think it was November of 2021. They won that lawsuit. And what blows my mind is that they keep the corruption going. They keep the corruption going. There has to be a stop to this. Has to be an end to this.
Well, the corruption is going to be maintained until somebody insists upon accountability. And, you know, when you're not accountable for your actions, then you feel like you have a free reign to do whatever you want. And Correct. You literally do.
Exactly.
Yeah, I told you this morning about the director of an Indiana CPS bureau whose rural address looks like a fortress with cameras and gates. And this is the kind of residence I would expect a drug lord to be living in, not the head of CPS. There's a reason why those cameras are there. There's a reason why the gates are all there. They're not coincidence or accident. Why?
They get paid under the table.
Sure.
They get paid under the table. They do. Judges get paid under the table. They get paid. I mean, there's a lot of corruption in the police department with CPS. I mean, it's just it's endless. It's really endless. Endless trauma for parents and endless trauma for kids. The kids suffer. Kids suffer when a child reacts because they are stolen from the home, right? Especially from good parents, and the child is in the foster home crying for their mother or father every night. It's not the parents' fault. CPS caused that trauma for the child.
Well, the cases where I have videotaped drug activity at a residence by the non-custodial parent and personally handed it to the CPS worker, and they ignore it. How do you justify ignoring evidence of drug activity?
In the non-custodial home, meaning the child was in that home and they still
engaged in drug activity with the child there on a visitation basis.
Yep. Did you guys hear what Dave just said? This is, it shouldn't shock me. It just makes my heart, it's like, oh my God. But yet they take the child from a mother because allegations, you know, Dave, allegations, just allegations from a neighbor, right? Or allegations from an ex-mother-in-law, or allegations from an ex-husband that doesn't want to pay child support. So what does he do? Report the mother. It's all allegations. And they take the children, but yet, like Dave said, there's drug activities in that home, but the social worker does not want to remove the children from that home. So apparently foster parents have more say about somebody else's child, and they can get away with a lot of stuff.
Well, as long as they're going to be paid per child, there's no reason to limit the number of children they take in.
Yeah. And what we talked about earlier today, the lady that with the 9 kids, foster lady, she knows the social worker.
Sure.
She has 9 children in her home. She knows the social worker, and she gets paid for every child. Aside from that, she also gets paid cash food stamps. Food stamps.
Why wouldn't you take in 9 children?
Exactly. And cash aid.
that's probably their sole income.
Yeah, that is. She's not working. That's all. That's all she does.
Right.
She has 9 kids, and that's all she does. And she is related to the social worker that keeps bringing her children. So this is the disgusting part. And then what I said to you earlier today, Dave, also, this social worker took a child in her home, right? Her boyfriend is a registered child molester. The parent hired an investigator to find out information about this guy and her, and he sent the information to the parent. The parent submitted the information to the court, and the judge did not want to see the evidence. The judge said to the parents, I'm not going to look at the evidence that you say you have. It's irrelevant. The child is now adapted to that home, and he's reluctant to make the move because the child is used to the home. But you were not reluctant to remove the child from the parents' home where the child was most safe.
Right.
Our system is so corrupt. They lack the basic common sense. Unfortunately, common sense is not taught in school or your college, unfortunately. So we have judges who are black robe fevered, right? Who are attorneys in wearing black robes, who sit on their asses, making decision, stealing children, giving the power to a social worker to write whatever he or she wants in a report without looking at evidence. That's why oftentimes I say judges are stupid, because the definition of stupid is seeing the truth, hearing the truth, but yet you still believe a lie. When you still believe a lie, you have to be stupid. I don't care if you graduated from Harvard. I don't care where you went to school. It doesn't make you human.
Well, the complication comes in, you don't know what goes on behind closed doors, as the saying goes. This judge may make a ruling that makes no sense to you whatsoever.
Right.
But they're paying off a debt, or they're paying back a buddy for a favor he did them. You don't know the background and the backstory, as they say.
Right.
Oftentimes, that's where I come in, because I can uncover some of those if they're not too well hidden.
And that's why it's important to hire an investigator. It's very important. Like I told you, Dave, earlier today, I get so many calls from people who are asking me if I know one in Indiana, or I know one in Washington, or I know one in New York, or what have you. And I often tell them, no, I don't. So when I found out about you, I was really thankful. And when I spoke to you, I realized you are very knowledgeable. You've been doing this for a long, long time. And you're not just, someone down the street who's only been doing it for a year. You've been doing it for years. And you know what you're doing, and you're really good at it. And that's why I wanted to introduce you to everyone, to make sure that they have a way to contact you. And I know that we posted your information earlier today, and I'm hoping Grace can post it again right now. Let me text Grace.
Yeah, there I am.
Yeah, there you go. So this is how you get a hold of Dave, everyone. That's his phone number. Is that a cell number where people can text you as well, Dave? Or is
it a cell? They can text me.
Yes.
I'm on Eastern Standard Time, so if you're in California, please don't call me at 2 a.m. California time.
No. So that's how you get a hold of Dave. And honestly, guys, you really need to understand that there's ways to be heard. There's ways to be heard. We have a client yesterday that actually I did the agreement for yesterday. She actually had to borrow money from her family and her friends she went to school with, and her co-workers, and she actually went everywhere, and she didn't stop until she collected the retainer to get her kids back. I know that not everybody have the money, but you guys have to understand, the deeper the case is in, the more corruption they already created in your case. They already
you get in the layers of corruption.
Yeah, layers and layers. And then the attorney, a good attorney, wins cases using strategy. You have to use the strategy to win a case. You can't just talk to your client an hour before the court hearing and expect to know what is going on with her case or his case. Strategy is what wins cases. Kind of like, well, I'm Christian, and I mentioned this to you guys in my show before. God also has strategy against Satan, right? So it's in the Bible how we fight against our enemy. God never tells us to fight against them with force, right? So if you're Christian, you'll understand what I'm talking about. Similar goes to in court. You have to have the right strategy to win a case. Every case is similar, but yet different.
Well, again, you don't know what's behind these acts. I had a case, it did involve CPS, it involved insurance fraud. And I was able to prove that this individual was committing insurance fraud, black and white. I took it to the local sheriff.
Yeah.
He said, well, Dave, he's one of our drug informants, so I can't touch him. So here's a fellow blatantly, obviously getting away with insurance fraud with the sheriff's knowledge and approval because he's a drug informant. So because he gives the sheriff these things that he wants, in exchange, he gets to do insurance fraud, and the only person that pays the money is the insurance company.
Oh my gosh.
So you never know what's behind something when people make these statements or decisions.
Right. That was true.
And I run into that all the time. I don't know, this is the guy's brother-in-law that I'm talking to, not knowing that he's related. So I'm not going to get anywhere with him.
Right. Like Tina asked, what is the strategy? Tina, in order for an attorney to know the strategy, he or she have to look at your case. They have to subpoena the records. They have to look what happened from day one, what happened on day 2, on day 3. They have to review what the social worker's allegations were, who made the allegations, right? How did they determine that this is facts, et cetera, et cetera. Attorney would have to subpoena the right people that's involved in the case. They have to put them, they have to question them. The strategy is how to question them, who to question, and what to say to them. Oftentimes, the strategy is literally making the person that is a liar admit their lies without they're realizing they're admitting their lies. There's a strategy behind every move. An attorney cannot just know your case within an hour before the court hearing. Attorney has to review your case, has to talk to you, question you. But what you say to the attorney is not what is going on in your report. Your report review is completely different than what you're telling your attorney. So the strategy is not going to come from you. The strategy is going to come from within your reports.
Well, the interaction that you've had with CPS prior to hiring the attorney sets the foundation for the entire course of the case.
Right.
If you've got into screaming matches and cussing matches before you even get counsel, he needs to know that the person needs to know that because you've already soured CPS relations, and most people get in trouble with their mouth.
They do, but they lie. Like I said earlier today, they are sociopathic, narcissistic idiots that their lies is so convincing, and they actually they have a poker face. Like when they lie, they have a poker face, like you can't see through them. And if you show any type of emotion to these people as well, you do understand, you guys, when you show emotion, that means they have power over you.
That's right.
You cannot show emotion at all, whether you're sad, you're angry, you're happy, you're confused, you're rolling your eyes, or your eyebrows lifts up, or all this is emotion that you're giving them power over you. So don't think that you can outsmart them. Don't think you can outsmart them. You cannot go to an officer stopping you for a traffic ticket, right? Go off on the officer. You think the officer is not going to arrest you? They will find a reason to arrest you. Yeah,
sure.
They will. They will. And guess what? They are believed, and you're the even though you're the victim, but they will believe, the courts will believe the officer. Without an attorney that understands the strategy to win his or her case, you cannot do it on your own.
Oh, I agree.
Yeah.
Which is a sad state of affairs, that you're almost mandated to seek assistance, opposed to being able to fight for your kids yourself.
Yep. And a lot of parents, Dave, they tell me, they say, oh, Georgette, I went to college. I know what I'm doing. I studied law. No, sweetheart, you haven't studied law enough to understand how to go against the state and county.
Well, and when you have an emotional stake in the fight, you're a lot less effective than if you're to be objective.
Exactly. I have actually a pediatrician, right, told me one time, he said his daughter was sick, and he said, Georgette, I have to take my daughter to the hospital. I mean, to the doctor. I said, you are a doctor. You're a pediatrician. He said, but I'm her father.
Yeah.
I can't diagnose my own daughter.
Right.
But then you have paramedics who are firefighters, paramedics, who think they're doctors. They think they can diagnose their kids and not take them to a real doctor. It's really weird how people think. Here's a doctor, here's a paramedic. Just because he gives an IV to someone, he thinks he knows what a doctor knows. And here's a doctor that knows more, that says, I will take my child to a doctor, another doctor, to care for her. And also, he's
a good parent.
There you go. So it's important that you guys understand that you think you might know something you really don't know, especially when it comes to legal matters, especially when it pertains to your case. What you read and what you do in court are two different things.
Oh, very much so.
Yeah. And the way you present evidence to the court is different than what you read and how to represent evidence to court. When you're dealing with family law, it's different than state. You know?
Sure.
A state judge can tell you to shut the F up and sit down. A state judge can shut your mouth immediately in a way where degrading to you as a mother or father. We have a lady that actually told me that the judge told her to shut the F up in court. He actually said the F word.
Did she file a complaint with the Bar Association?
Yeah, they didn't do anything.
That's when they contact people like you.
There you go. But you have to understand the strategy to win cases. You cannot retaliate against them by yourself. You can't do that.
No.
A lot of people say, I'm the parent, they can't, we have rights and we have this, we have that. But you don't understand that the rules they set in place is to violate your rights. They have rules to violate your rights.
These parents are all outsiders.
Yeah.
And they're trying to deal with maintaining a safe environment for their children that's being attacked by insiders. And it's very difficult to repel that kind of an attack unless you have all the ammunition you can possibly obtain and you know how to use it.
Right.
To just go in there and start arguing, you're going to lose.
Yeah. And actually, one of my special friend here, He said, if you do not show emotion, they say you're too calm and then call you crazy. That's actually no. When you show emotion is when they call you crazy. We have multiple parents with evidence, with videos, mothers crying over their children, begging the social worker not to steal her children, and the social worker is laughing at the mother, laughing, like literally laughing, like it's a joke. And then she would look at the mom and say, why are you crying? Like it's okay. Why are you crying? We're stealing your children. What's wrong with you?
Now, see, if you and I did something on that scale, our peers would punish us.
Yep.
But they're in a closed society.
Yep.
That has no accountability, no structure.
Yep.
You're either in or you're out. There's no middle ground.
Nope.
And that's why they can get away with that.
Yeah, but the thing about it is they actually show their true self when they're not aware they're being recorded.
Oh yeah, I agree.
When they are aware they're being recorded, they want you to stop recording them.
Well, that's why I've done some background checks on CPS personnel.
Yep.
And the dirt I've uncovered and the criminal records that shouldn't be there, the civil records of debt,
right.
Massive amounts of debt, which implies that they're perhaps getting money under the table to address all these debts that they've accrued over the years.
That's right. That is right.
And I told you about one here in my neighborhood where I went to the CPS's workers' place of residence, and there was no trash, no garbage can, no trash bin, no nothing.
Because they burn everything.
Now, when I'm a drug dealer, I burn all my records and throw the ashes away so you can't track me. Why am I doing that as a CPS supervisor?
Because they don't, exactly. They're worse than the cartels, Dave. I didn't mention this on my show this morning, but on every show I do, I always tell people, or almost every show I do, I tell people I would rather live next door to the cartels than live next door to a social worker. And I'm not joking when I tell you this. I trust the cartels more than I would trust a social worker. At least with the cartels, I know what they're all about, right? They're not hiding who they are. But with a social worker, they're literally stealing children. You're stealing the heart of a parent. Your child is your heart, your soul. You're stealing the soul from someone. That's horrible. It's like, it's horrible. It's the most painful thing you can do to a parent. And
I agree.
For you to even do it maliciously, just because you can. Just like the worker told one of our clients, she said, "Why are you doing this?" She said, "Because I can."
Right, and they can.
Mm-hmm. You know who says that? A narcissist says that. When you tell a narcissist, "Why are you doing this to me?" When he says, "Because I can," he's 100% narcissist. Because he's telling you or she's telling you, "I have power over you."
Well, they do.
Yep.
And they know that. And that is not their first encounter with an individual. They've probably spent years understanding that they're in total control and can manipulate you to do as they want you to do. And you have no recourse because it's your child.
Right. And you will do anything to keep your child, but they lie. They lie to do it, Dave. What they say to the parents, "Sign this, and we're not going to remove your child." They go, they leave the child with you. A week passes, 2 weeks passes. They come back, steal your child in the middle of the night like a thief. And then they say, "We had an anonymous call against you."
Right.
That's not true. Who's the anonymous call? What they do is they start turning family against each other. Why? Because the parents talk too damn much to the social worker. Oh, it has to be my sister. I had a fight with her last year. Or it has to be my uncle. I had a fight with him last year. It could be my mother. She can't stand my husband. But you're already indulging information to them. So what do? Then they go to your mother and they start dividing you guys apart.
Sure.
Because you already spoke. That's why you shouldn't just give information to them. We tend as human to talk too much.
Yes, I rely on that.
Yeah.
When I talk to people.
See? There you go. Talk too damn much. So you need to keep your mouth shut. You cannot react, and you need to get an attorney during the investigation phase. That's very important. Get a private.
And it's hard not to react because you're talking about perhaps the most emotional aspect of your life.
Right. But you have to understand, Dave, we have to, as parents, learn not to react to these monsters.
Sure.
Because when you react, you're giving them power over you.
Yep.
You cannot allow them to have power over you. We have a client that actually, a caller that called me and said, Georgette, I didn't open my door to the social worker at all. And guess what? 2 years passed and she never came back again. It's true.
Have you ever tried to find somebody who has left the social work industry to get the inside tips from them?
Say what again?
Someone who's left the social work industry out of disgust, perhaps, and see what kind of inside tips they have from having been in that environment.
Yes, I have. Actually, one of my close friends, best friend, was a social worker. And I wanted her to be on my show, but she's still thinking about it. What they taught her for the years she's been working is that you have to follow the instructions and the guidelines, not legally, but the guidelines they have within the entity to take children from parents, lie to steal children from parents. They teach them to lie. They teach them to say the child said in the report when the child didn't say that. She said that she's done this for years. And she felt guilty. And she hated it. Because when she originally went in it, she did it for the right reasons.
Right.
And then she came out from it. And it's sad. It's very sad, but they lie. There's actually a video of a CPS attorney. It's all over YouTube. I shared it on my show one time. Dave, you should watch it. I'm going to send you a link to that. A social worker, it was the attorneys for the social workers talking to 3 federal judges. The attorney for the social workers is telling the judges that it's okay to lie, state level lie, to the state about removing children. That it's okay to lie to remove children from a home. The 3 judges were like, they were listening to her. You have to listen to that hearing. They couldn't believe she said that.
Well, that happens every day. You know that.
Yeah. But the attorney is convincing the federal side that it's okay to lie. That it's all right to violate somebody's constitutional rights.
That's never right.
No, it's never right. But when I heard it, I realized that those pieces of shits, right, steal children, that they say it's okay to lie and defend CPS, encourage them to lie.
Well, I would imagine you have to somewhat get leather or skin in that job. So after a while, these no longer become children. These just become entities that you're taking from point A, their home, and giving to point B, a foster home. They're no longer children with children's hearts and souls and spirits. Otherwise, you would probably go crazy if you kept looking at them as children, as we see them.
Right. And oftentimes they become just a number. It's just a
Yeah,
number.
that's what they are.
And yeah, and then a lot of parents who are targeted, they actually parents who are low income, Dave. And low income and social workers would actually ask the parents, hey, can you afford an attorney? Oftentimes a social worker would ask a parent, can you afford an attorney? Because once they get an attorney, right, the social workers now are scared.
Yeah, there's accountability steps in.
Yeah, they're scared. Now, once the parent hired the right attorney, they're terrified. Because they don't want to be caught. Not that they're going to lose their job. They don't lose their job. They don't. They actually get promoted. But they don't want to be caught. So it's very sad, but yet very true. It's true. What I'm telling you guys is the truth. Mr. Davis spoke about it on his show one time. There was a social worker he had, and she admitted to the lie under oath. She got promoted because she didn't stick out her supervisor. Get it? She didn't like put her supervisor under the bus.
Right. That's your reward.
Right. That's a reward. She covered up for her supervisor. So she got promoted. I don't have that kind of job. Do you, Dave?
No.
You violate the law and get promoted? I don't have that type of job. I didn't even know if I want that type of job.
Well, again, you're talking about one episode of probably untold thousands of episodes that led to her promotion.
Oh, yeah.
You think got promoted because of one time? No. Probably a repeat pattern of covering her boss's rear end, and it led to promotion. But look at the casualties it caused to get to that multiple occasions.
That is true. And but
that's the hard part about this is just a snapshot of a moment in a child's life.
Yeah.
But look at all the tens of millions of hours that's gone into all of this that created this environment of deceit and manipulation and the protected society they've created for themselves. We're talking about just a very brief moment in all this.
Yeah.
But as we speak, it's happening.
That's very true. It's happening every minute of every day. We have on New Year's Eve alone, people thought I celebrated New Year's Eve. I didn't celebrate New Year's Eve. New Year's Eve alone, I got 28 calls of parents who had their children stolen from them on New Year's Eve.
Oh my gosh.
They came a couple of people said they came at 9:30 at night. Other people said they came at 2 o'clock in the morning, 1 o'clock in the morning, 12:45 in the morning. And I have found myself on New Year's Eve talking to people until 4:15 in the morning. Because the mothers are hysterical, which they have every right to.
Sure.
But the reason they do this all the time, where they go on New Year's Eve, Christmas Eve, Easter.
Right.
A child's birthday, Dave. A child's birthday. A child's birthday was New Year's Eve. One of the parents that called me, and they celebrated his birthday and celebrating New Year's Eve with family, not at a bar. They're not shooting drugs. They're just celebrating with not alcohol, right? Just a cake, balloons, and what do you call that? Cranberry juice. That's what the guy said. Him and his wife don't drink. They don't do drugs. Cranberry juice is what they were celebrating with. There was video going on. So thank God there was video running, everything to show that it was a clean gathering. and they stole the child from the parent on the child. The child didn't even open their presents.
That's a difficult mindset to figure out.
Yeah, it's sad. I mean, people were calling me so much. I almost, I couldn't. You understand what I'm saying? I couldn't enjoy anything with my family.
Of course not.
How could you? You have to be monster to enjoy. You know what I mean? How can you? But those monsters go and steal them without any remorse, Dave. Like literally no remorse.
No, it's a job.
It's a job.
Why would they exhibit remorse for doing their job?
Yeah, that is very true. Tina, my kids were taken on Christmas Eve. Yeah, Christmas Eve will never be the same for Tina. She said, my kids were taken on Christmas Eve. It's not the same. They take children right before the holiday. They take children right before a weekend because they know they're not going to find an attorney on the weekend.
Right.
And usually they will take children in the middle of the night, Dave. They will wake the children up from their sleep. The children are crying, and that does something to a child's mind. Like you're stealing the child from a home while they're sleeping. Do you have any idea what that does to a child's mind? The child's psyche? And then you say that it's the parent's fault when actually you're creating that trauma. You're the one traumatizing the child. CPS are the ones traumatizing the children. The judges are enablers. They enable CPS to do whatever they want. What is the judge's job? That's what I don't understand. I honestly, until today, I'm in my 50s and I still don't know what the judge's job is except to enable the wrong, enable the corruption.
Right. The judge's job is supposed to be the level justice.
Level justice.
Right.
You can't level without a level mind. You can't level without level thinking. Right?
Well, again, so, but you don't know whose golf buddy you're dealing with.
Yeah.
You don't know who's paying back debts from college. You don't have any idea the backstory behind all these characters. And you can be assured that there is one there. Nobody lives in a vacuum. So every judge has got buddies that he plays golf with, plays poker with, does other things with. We'll leave it at that. And if one of them gets involved in your scenario, you're now involved.
Yeah, but you know what's so sad about this is that this judges are, some of them are getting caught slowly, right? Especially when they take bribes. And what I have noticed that everyone that has money, right? They make good money. They have a title. They can easily pay off a judge to get what they want.
Yep.
And then a parent is kind of like, for example, if there's a mother who is middle class or low class, I mean, not, low income, and the father who's upper class, and the father makes at least, I don't know, $18,000, $23,000 a month, whatever. The father has a lot of money, a lot of properties, whatever. That father can easily pay off a judge to get what they want. Even if that father drives with it, has an arson and theft against him, all kinds of stuff.
Well, it's been my experience. What I've seen is that people that make a lot of money like that can hire high-priced attorneys.
Yep.
And they're the ones that belong to the same social clubs as the judges.
Right.
So they may not be, quote, paying off, unquote, the judges, but their legal counsel rubs elbows with them every day at lunch. And thus, decisions are made with a little slant to them.
Yep.